10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 431. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 431 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. Going into the second episode on our series that has to do with prompting. And I got some comments from all of you that you really enjoyed the first episode. Really glad about that. I hope that the stuff that we're going to go over this month and possibly next month is really going to benefit you. I know this has been a huge part of my practice routine, and this has helped me a lot to sort of break out of my tendencies and develop some new language, but in kind of an organic way. So let's continue. So last week, we took the first two measures of the blues, or the first measure of the blues. Honestly, I can't remember. It feels like last week was like a year ago. And we prompted. We gave you a prompt. We gave you something to play. And, we talked about how that's basically going to inform everything else that you play in that chorus in some way, shape, or form. And the effects of that will be more pronounced the more you work on the prompt, and possibly leading back into bar one with the prompt in mind. And it really is one of those things that will change the way that you play. So we're going to continue that this week, but we are going to prompt you in a different place in the blues. So this week, we're going to do some prompts in bars 5 and 6. And this is a really interesting part of the blues, right? Because it goes to the 4 chord, and then it goes up to that sharp 4 diminished chord. So I think this is like a really interesting place to possibly interject with one of these prompts. And I think this will really, it has the potential to alter what you would play for the remaining 6 bars of the blues. Because when we prompt you at the beginning, it's like, okay, cool. I start my solo with this statement, but this one is going to do a couple of things, right? So first of all, you're going to already have been playing something that you have improvised. You're going to already kind of be into a statement, and you're going to have to kind of figure out how to, first of all, make sure that you take a little pause before the prompt and get ready for it. Or second of all, and honestly, maybe even more valuable, how are you going to play seamlessly into that prompt and incorporate it? So you see, this actually starts to take on a whole new light when we move the prompt into the middle of the form, or to a particular place in the form, because you will have already been making a statement, and now you have to kind of figure out how to incorporate this thing. And again, this is my major warning to you. This is a practice tool. Do not attempt, when you're at a gig or you're playing for real, where you're actually trying to put together a solo, please do not attempt to put this prompt into your actual solos. If it comes out by accident, great. Do not go into your solo tonight at the gig saying, I am going to play that prompt in bar 5 when we're playing a blues. Just don't do it. That's not the point of this. This is a practice room tool, okay? And I cannot stress this enough, because if you do try to just insert this into your solos, this work becomes no different than what I think are the faults of the traditional way of learning vocabulary. Learn this and put it in your solo. Nope. Learn this, utilize it in the practice room, forget about it when you are actually soloing, okay? So just remember me saying that, because I don't want to contribute to people trying to put pre-programmed language into their solos. It's just, I really think it's a huge liability. So anyway, in the practice room, you're going to have to figure out how you want to put this in. Do you want to connect it? Do you want to try to play a phrase into it that is seamless? Or do you want to just kind of force yourself to stop playing, I don't know, a bar before, 3 beats before, 2, 1 beat before, whatever. But you just kind of want to make sure that you're playing this. So here is prompt number 1, just to give you an idea of what we're doing here. So that would be in the middle of basically your statement. You can see it just runs up the 4 chord. And then we go to that sharp 4 diminished. So we get a nice mix of scale / arpeggio. And you want to just go ahead and put that right into your statement. If that's not something you would naturally reach for, that's kind of the whole point of this thing. All right, what's the second one? Well, the second one, we try to get a little bit more rhythmically interesting. So you can see that one actually runs into the 1 chord. So a little bit different than the last one. The last one I had you resting before it goes back to the 1 chord. This one's sort of prompting you to play something that's, first of all, a little bit more rhythmically interesting. And second of all, actually runs you back into the 1 chord, which is definitely going to affect what you play after it. So you can go off of that, you can change directions, you can keep going, you can stop once you get to that note, but no doubt it's going to affect what you are playing. And the third one is definitely based off of more rhythmic stuff than anything else. Got some triplets in there. And again, it leaves a lot of space and leads us back into the 1 chord in bar, what bar is that? Bar 7. I have a problem with numbers, apparently. Can't think about what bar that is. But yeah, bar 7, it leads you back into the 1 chord. And then you could continue that line when you get back into the 1 chord by doing a whole bunch of different things. See how it's influencing what I'm doing after that? It really, really can cause you to play some super interesting things. Or on the other hand, it could reveal some of your weaknesses. It will do probably both. Initially, it will probably reveal your weaknesses on that part of the form. But then hopefully, as you work on it, it will lead you into some really new and interesting stuff. Okay, so I've got the PDF with the 3 different prompts in bar 5 for the Patreon members. I'm also going to record some trading tracks where we go back and forth and we both insert those prompts and just kind of like see what happens. So the Patreon members will get that stuff. And next week we'll investigate one other spot that I think is really, really cool to place a prompt. So if you happen to be new to the show and you heard me say the Patreon members and you don't know what I'm talking about, that's actually the way that we support the show and keep things going. We don't do any advertisements on this show. So instead we rely on people just like you that listen to this podcast and hopefully get something out of it. To give us a small monthly donation to keep us going. And in return for that, you get a whole bunch of jazz education materials, everything that's pertinent to the episode that we are exploring. So we use the Patreon platform to take care of that support. And if you would like to learn more and perhaps sign up to become a contributing member, you can go to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners. Or you can go to patreon.com and search for the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, and you can get signed up, get all the information, and you get instant access to everything. Again, that's 10minutejazzlesson.com. Click on one of the Patreon banners or patreon.com and search for the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. Shout out to some new members this week. Thank you to Andrea, Heather, Sam, and Daniel, We really appreciate you guys signing up, becoming part of the family. And of course, to the almost 400 members that we have over there supporting us, thanks. We definitely could not do this without you. So have fun with this stuff this week. I really hope it moves you forward in your practice time and ultimately your skills. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.